Peloton, once the crown jewel of at-home fitness, it built a movement, a community, a lifestyle. But now, the company stands at a crossroads, caught between a bold, high-tech reinvention and a furious wave of customer backlash. The question is simple, but the answer, not so much. Can Peloton really innovate its way back to the top without pushing away the very people who made it a success?
Peloton, you know the name. For years, it completely changed the game in at-home fitness and built this incredibly loyal community. But, after those crazy highs during the pandemic, the company is now at a serious crossroads. They're betting their entire future on a big, high-tech reinvention. And that leaves us with one huge question. Can they innovate their way back to solid ground without totally alienating their most dedicated fans?
Wow, this quote from a Peloton user just gets right to the heart of it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of being trapped. I mean, you've shelled out a ton of money for this equipment, and now walking away from a subscription that keeps getting more and more expensive, well, it feels impossible. It's that classic fear of your expensive tech becoming nothing more than a useless brick.
So, how did this happen? That's really the question we're going to unpack here. And to get it, you really have to look at two completely different sides of the story. You've got the company's ambitious plan for a comeback, and then you have the customer backlash that plan is causing. So let's start with Peloton's strategy. Okay, so from inside the company, this isn't just about trying to survive. No, this is about engineering a full-blown comeback. Peloton is making a really calculated bet here. They believe the future of fitness is smarter, more personal, and, you guessed it, more premium than ever. Step one in this big plan, a complete hardware refresh. And we're not just talking about a new coat of paint on the bike, tread, and row. They're actually trying to solve some of the big frustrations users have had for years. Things like swiveling screens so you can actually do floor exercises, and way better sound systems on the Premium Plus models. These are direct responses to what customers have been asking for, all designed to make the workout feel more seamless and immersive.
But the real brains behind all this new hardware? That's Peloton IQ. And this is their giant leap into AI. I mean, just imagine having a virtual personal trainer built right into your bike. The top-tier models have this AI-powered camera that's literally watching your form. It's counting your reps, and it's giving you feedback in real time. It's all designed to make the experience feel smarter and, let's be real, to help Peloton justify that higher price tag.
And you know who's paying attention? Wall Street. Analysts like Arpine Kocharian over at UBS see this as a pretty solid path forward. The thinking goes like this. These price hikes, supported by all the new tech, could boost revenue by $100 million and finally stop the flood of people canceling their subscriptions. And that's exactly why some folks are giving the stock a buy rating. Now, it's really important to get this next part. This strategy isn't just about spending a bunch of money on new tech. It's a two-pronged attack. So while they're pushing all this premium innovation on one hand, they're getting super strict with their finances on the other. They've got a cost-cutting plan in place that's set to save them over $200 million a year. But as we all know, every business decision has a flip side, a consequence. So how is this high-tech, high-price strategy actually landing with the people who built the Peloton community in the first place? Let's get into the customer backlash. Okay, this slide right here shows you the absolute core of the frustration. If you own the hardware, you are now paying almost $50 a month for the required all-access membership. But if you're someone who just uses the app without the bike, you can get pretty much the same library of classes for way, way less. For those people who invested thousands of dollars in the hardware, this growing price gap feels less like a membership and a lot more like a penalty for being loyal. This quote just sums it up perfectly. It speaks right to that classic sunk cost problem, After you've spent thousands on a piece of equipment, the idea of it just sitting there, useless, makes you feel like you have no choice but to just suck it up and pay the price hikes. It's a powerful feeling of being trapped, and it's making a lot of people angry. And that feeling of being trapped, it can get personal, fast. This is especially true for the early adopters, the ones who bought their equipment when it was at its most expensive. They've had to watch the company slash hardware prices for new members, while at the same time jacking up their own monthly fee. As this person says, it feels like a total slap in the face. You can just feel the sarcasm dripping from this quote, can't you? It really captures the mood online right now. There's this widespread belief among longtime members that they're basically being forced to pay for the company's past financial blunders, that they're subsidizing a cheaper entry price for new customers, all at their own expense.
So we've got two completely different stories playing out. On one side, a company betting everything on a high-tech future.
On the other, a customer base that's feeling pretty forgotten. So what does the financial reality tell us about what's next for Peloton?
So behind all the optimistic talk about a turnaround, the numbers, well, they paint a much more worrying picture. Data from Guru Focus shows something called an Altman Z-score that puts Peloton in the distress zone. Now that's a fancy financial term, but what it really measures is the likelihood of a company going bankrupt within 2 years. You add that to the fact that company insiders have been selling off a lot of stock, plus a negative net margin, which just means they're still losing money, and you start to see the immense pressure Peloton is under to make this new strategy work.
And this chart here, it shows you the really tricky tightrope they're trying to walk. Their traditional customers, people with higher credit scores, they like to buy the equipment outright. But the new customers they're trying to attract, say with rental programs, tend to have more mid-range scores. So you see the problem, right? As Peloton tries to bring in new people with things like rentals, it's raising prices on its most committed, high-investment owners. It's a tough balancing act.
But there's one potential game changer here: new leadership. The new CEO, Peter Stern, comes directly from Apple, where he actually co-founded their biggest competitor, Apple Fitness Plus. His hiring is the clearest sign yet that Peloton is going all in on a strategy led by subscriptions and innovation. I mean, they've literally hired an expert in the exact game they're trying to win.
Which brings us right back to our final big question. Peloton is gambling that its vision for an AI-powered premium fitness future is so compelling that it'll bring in new people and, maybe most importantly, convince its original loyal customers that the rising cost of membership is actually worth it. Whether that bet pays off, well, we're all about to find out.
So we're left with two realities. On one hand, a company in the financial distress zone, betting it can innovate its way back to solid ground with AI, premium hardware, and a CEO from Apple. A company convinced that a smarter, more personal fitness future is worth a higher price.